And welcome back to Viking Sports Wrap as Morton Anderson gets ready to break his own current NFL record by most games played in the league. When Colts head coach Tony Dungy was with the Minnesota Vikings, he had the Vikings ranked as the #1 defense in all of football. When he was head coach at Tampa Bay, they always had great defenses. Down here in Indianapolis, his defense is brutal. Go figure. Tony, of course, has many ties to Minnesota. He was the quarterback of the Golden Gophers in the early 70s. After his NFL career was over, he became a coach and was the Vikings defensive coordinator from 1992 to 1995 under Denny Green. He became the head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks and won his first game against Denny and the Vikings. This will be his first game coaching against the Vikings since Mike Tice took over as the head coach.
Working for Denny was very special. I think I got prepared to be a head coach really very well by Coach Green and how he did things and what we did there, and again playing and working for a winner.
Tony and his family still love Minnesota. They take summer vacations there every year. Well, we've got the big guns out tonight. Cindy Bricado is joining us back in the Twin Cities with the latest on the ownership saga.
Yeah, we're kind of talking management tonight, seeing what's happening there over at the very top. Kind of seems like clockwork every time this year and about every time Red McCombs makes some comments. Some say they're threats that he's going to move the Vikings from Minnesota. Now, there are groups talking about buying the team to keep it here. And one person who wants to be part of that action, Twin Cities car dealer Denny Hecker.
Purple Pride. The Vikings. It's Minnesota's team. But will it stay here?
What actually came down was, would you like to have a new stadium in L.A. was the question. The answer was absolutely yes. I would love to have a new stadium in L.A. I don't expect that to happen, and we're hoping to get a stadium in Minnesota.
We've heard it before. Vikings owner Red McCombs hinting about the Vikings' future. Red won't comment on any negotiations to sell the team, but local businessman and car dealer Denny Hecker is part of a group that wants to buy the Vikings.
I think it would be fun if a Minnesota person got possession of the team, so all of us would know that it's here and it's not going to be moved out of town on a trailer on a weekend.
You might say the walls of Hecker's office show his determination, the love for football, and the desire to keep the Vikings in Minnesota.
I think football is really important for Minnesota. I mean, I think that it's good for our whole city, our whole culture, and it's part of who we are. And I think it's a big thing.
Hecker is working with Arizona businessman Reggie Fowler. Fowler says he'd keep the team here, and Hecker, as a minority partner, would become what you would call the face of the ownership.
I'm a long-life Minnesota resident. My roots are planted here.
Other groups are also interested. Hecker says he'd work with them too. But money is a big issue. McCombs reportedly wants $600 million. And for a stadium, new owners would probably have to pitch in another $200 million.
It's an economics test. If a seller wants a price for something and it just economically doesn't work, I don't need it to say that I'm mad at my cash.
Interesting way of putting it. Construction experts say that it's going to take at least 5 years to plan, finance, and build a new stadium. And with the Vikings lease at the Metrodome up in 2011, insiders say that 2005 is going to be a key year for any plans for a new stadium. I'm going to be back a little bit later, Joe, with a look at a local woman on the sidelines here, and she's playing a significantly important role in what's happening out there with Monday Night Football.
And she does a very good job. Thank you, Cindy. Well, the Vikings will be facing one of the toughest quarterbacks in the entire NFL to sack tonight. Peyton Manning certainly isn't fast, but it's that quick release. He gets rid of that ball so soon that makes him tough to sack. The Vikings have been happy with their pass rush the last couple of weeks. Lance Johnstone had 2 of the Vikings' 5 sacks that they had against the Giants. The Vikings have 19 sacks in their first 7 games, which is 3 more than last year at this time. If they get 3 more tonight, it won't be a good night. It will be a great night. Well, the Vikings use a rotation of their defensive linemen to make sure they keep everybody fresh, even in the 4th quarter. Well, one guy who knows all about that rotation is standing by live with Ann Hutchinson. Ann?
Well, he sure does. Vikings defensive coordinator Ted Cottrell joining us tonight. And, Coach, let's talk about the Vikings defense. Do you think that they are improving?
Yes, and the last couple of games, I think we've done a good job. The guys are really starting to execute. and keep the team's what we call average per play, the yards per play down. And as you well, you know, we've gotten some sacks, got some pressure. I think we've gotten like 11 sacks the last 2 games. So, and I'm pleased for that because we haven't done a lot of 5-man rush. We've been doing a lot with a 4-man rush our 4 defensive linemen.
People knew you were going to come with that 4-man rush, too. We can't talk defense without talking about quarterback Peyton Manning. We know it's key to not give up the big plays, but how do you disrupt him?
Well, probably give him a case of the flu and make sure he's sick before the game. Man, this guy's great. The guy is great. You know, he knows his offense inside out. What we're going to try to do is just make him a little bit hesitant with his calls and try to confuse him, if we can, a little bit, make him hold the ball and maybe go to his second and third choices.
All right, quickly, the Vikes, like the Colts, have a passing game that's prolific, but no slouch, Edgerrin James.
No, that's the other problem that you have with this outfit, that you cannot let Edgerrin run, because if he runs, now Peyton's such a great play-action quarterback that he can hold the underneath coverage and throw behind him. So you got to make him one-dimensional. For sure, you can't let Edgerrin run on you. Y'all have a hard night if you do that.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us, and good luck tonight against the Colts. And Joe, the Vikings have not given up, or have given up less than 300 yards in each of their last 2 games. Back to you.
All right, and the Colts, of course, have scored more points than any team in the league this year. Who was the last player to return a punt for a touchdown for the Minnesota Vikings? We'll have that answer next. Plus,
it did hit us like a ton of bricks, but, you know, it doesn't change the fact that he's our son and we're his parents, and you just have to make do with what you have and enjoy as much as we can.
Darren Bennett and his family are passionate in their fight against muscular dystrophy. That's still ahead on Viking Sports Wrap, live from Indianapolis. The Big O makes his return tonight. Ontario Smith, number 32, back from that 4-game suspension. Welcome back to the Viking Sports Wrap. Earlier in the show, we talked about the Vikings' problems on special teams. When was the last time the Vikings returned a kick or a punt for a touchdown? It's been a while. We checked. Let's start off with a kick return. We have to go back to the 1999 season when Mo Williams will return this one 85 yards for a touchdown against the Giants. They have had 326 kick returns since then, none for a touchdown. The last punt return for a touchdown was also in 1999. Remember this one? Randy Moss went 64 yards at Arrowhead Stadium against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Vikings have returned 152 punts since then, with none going the distance. That's a pretty substantial return drought. Well, one guy who doesn't want to see any kicks returned is Vikings punter Darren Bennett. He's kind of like Deion Sanders, without all the hot dog. He's on his second pro sport. He also played Australian rules football. But kicking the ball is not his main focus in life. It's tackling an insidious disease. He's an Australian who has made the transition to the NFL and USA with ease. His talent for kicking the football had a little something to do with that.
How did Tennessee get the ball back? That's where I'll pick.
At home in Edina, Darren and his wife Rosemary, along with sons Will and Thomas, look like your average 2-car, 2-kid American/Australian family. But average went out the door a couple of seasons ago.
We found out about 2 years ago, exactly 2 years actually. It was the first game of the season that he had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is the most severe form of MD.
So here you have a pro athlete at the top of his game, an NFL player, 2-time Pro Bowler, a guy who played 12 years of Australian rules football before that, finding out that his son Will would have a hard time walking.
It did hit us like a ton of bricks, but, you know, it doesn't change the fact that he's our son and we're his parents, and you just have to make do with what you have and enjoy as much as we can.
Will can roll around and play football with his younger brother, but when it comes to walking...
All right, you want to jump up and we'll go inside?
He needs help. When it comes to putting up a fight against MD, he has help.
All right, big fella, you ready?
One, two, from his mom and dad. Call it Australian rules tenacity.
Kick it out this way. Kick it. It's not uniquely Australian. It's something where you get backed into a corner, you come out swinging, you know, and it's the only way that we know, and it's something that we just have to do. You know, you have to get onto be aggressive with this and you know, do the best for William and for all the kids with Duchenne. And that's why we're talking to you right now.
And that means raising money, doing research, and working for progress while conquering and defeating fear and pity.
We have our own foundation called the Pro Player Foundation, and what it is it's dedicated directly to Duchenne muscular dystrophy and families with that, and we're focusing on research. So the MDA does a fantastic job looking after the young kids and their families, but you know, we see his only chance and our only chance is to find a cure.
And the Bennetts decided that Minnesota would be a perfect place to continue the fight for Will and continue Darren's football career.
The change of seasons and all that sort of stuff that you do get up here, it's something we've never had in San Diego. These guys have never seen snow. You know, it's a fantastic place to come for your children.
Will happens to be a big football fan and was sitting in the end zone when Randy Moss caught this touchdown pass against Arizona. And guess who Randy gave the football to? The boy with the big smile, Will Bennett.
And so afterwards I came out to the boys and I was talking to Will and he could hardly speak. He was excited and he said, Randy gave me a football. And then it was on ESPN and it was on the local TV stations.
Will has more than a family behind him now. He has a team behind him, too. And Darren stopped by the local MDA telethon to help out this year. If you'd like to help Darren in his fight against MD, check out his website at proplayerfoundation.org. That's proplayerfoundation.org. Well, both teams are on the field right now, and that means that Peyton Manning is out there, the guy who has 22 touchdown passes already this year against 4 interceptions. The Vikings have to figure out a way to stop this guy who was the MVP last year. Well, you don't want to trade your spot right now because we have a lot more good stuff coming up in the second half of Viking Sports Wrap. Coming up in our second half. It's a free-for-all and Freestyle Fridays at Winter Park. We'll introduce you to the guy who puts the finishing touches on players' great games. How is Jimmy Kleinsoffer handling being on the outside looking in this season? Plus,
what is that for, Pete? For a whole bucket. Oh, what is that for, a bucket? A bucket.
It's always entertaining when Kelly Campbell's on the loose with a mic. The Vikings are not the only ones from Minnesota on the Monday night stage. Michelle Tafoya has fit in well with Al and John. And we go one-on-one with the head coach.
The young guys I'm not as close to, and we have 3 drafts, and I'm probably not very close to anyone in the 3 drafts.
That's all ahead tonight on Viking Sports Wrap. And welcome back to Viking Sports Wrap. It could be a loud one here tonight because these fans haven't had a Monday night football game since 2000, and they are pumped up in Indianapolis. Well, welcome back to Sports Wrap. Peyton Manning does not have a lot of fond memories of Minnesota, and it has nothing to do with playing football. Peyton was 8 years old when his dad, Archie, played for the Vikings in 1984, better known as the Les Steckel season. The Vikings went 3-13 that year, and Archie seemed to get beat up every time he got into a game, including this game when the Bears sacked the Vikings quarterbacks 11 times. That's a franchise record for sacks giving up. That long, tough year ended up being the last season of Archie Manning's career. Now, Archie's other son, Eli, played against the Vikings last week when the New York Giants were in town. Well, some of the current Vikings are giving a whole new meaning to the term sports wrap. For that, let's go over to Ann Hutchinson. Ann?
Well, Joe, we all know the Vikings have talent on the field, but wait till you see what some of them do off the field for fun. It's called Freestyle Fridays. You can be the judge whether some of these guys have a shot at a second career. There are many athletes who have taken their turn at trying to rap. Shaq made it big nationally. Even the Timberwolves' own Troy Hudson has given it a try.
Prove we got the tools to do what we can do.
But now the Vikings are giving it a go. After a long week of grinding it out on the gridiron, they find rapping can be a relief.
It
originated last year. We were in the training room, actually, me, Randy, and Dante, and they had music on, and then I think Dante or somebody just started rapping, and then we just started everybody started coming in and freestyling, and then we just took it over to our lounge the following week, and then every week it just became like a ritual. Every Friday, everybody come in the lounge and you just rap, and then It's just exciting to see some of the people go against each other or just people just rapping in general.
Freestyle Friday, yeah!
With his Miami background, Bryant McKinney, better known as Mac in the rap world, is considered the best of the bunch.
So I'm back on the block. These haters wanna take my spot. Yo, they out of their mind. Yeah! I got glocks that'll blow up they spots. I'm taking out all these rappers one at a time.
And when Nate Burleson isn't bringing them down in the end zone, he's lighting it up in the lounge.
We can play stationary and spit over beats. Be careful, cause I use my moves in both NBA streets. I'm like Jordan, throwback jersey and all. They can tell me line 203 the way I ball. I'm from Seattle, dog, and you know that's rain. Killing MCs in slow motion like Duke and Max Payne.
He has more of the West Coast style. He's like real animated. He acts out what he's rapping about.
But in the locker room, most agree it gets a bit laughable after that.
The talent level, as far as look, athletes are good at one thing, and that's their sport. You got guys in there like Wiggins and Ned. They're not good rappers. They're not good freestylers, but they feel they are. I mean, they're average. They can't make a platinum CD or anything like that, but you know, those are my teammates, and, you know, I get a kick out of it.
So does Matt Burke, who chooses not to participate.
The O-line is represented by Big Mac, usually. Brian McKinney, and then he's kind of, from what I gather, he's kind of the, like the grand champion in there. He can lay it down with him.
Big Mac does have thoughts of making it big. He's just not sure how big.
I don't know if I want to come out with a whole album. But I would probably I would like try to be featured on somebody's album. I don't think I would come out with a whole album myself. That takes a lot of time being in the studio, a lot of just thoughts you got to keep writing down and put together and make sure it sound right. Because if I come out with something, I don't want to be like Shaq or Kobe. I mean, he sold a lot because he had just a big fan base. I don't think he sold based on his rap skills. Oh, I think I'm a better rapper than him too.
At least when it's Freestyle Friday.
And we wrapped it up here. It's over.
Now, we didn't have time to show you all the rappers, Joe, but let's just say I don't think any of the players will be signing any multi-platinum record deals anytime soon.
Now, let's just say they better keep their old day jobs. Thanks, Sam. Well, the two quarterbacks in tonight's game certainly have the ability to break the charts with some records this year, while Dante Culpepper and Peyton Manning are lighting it up this season. Manning has thrown for over 2,100 yards and 22 touchdown passes this season. He's on pace for a close to a 5,000-yard season with 50 touchdowns. Dan Marino set those records in 1984 when he threw for 5,084 yards and 48 touchdowns. Dante is also on pace to break Marino's marks, but he has cooled off a little bit. He still has thrown for close to 2,200 yards and 20 touchdowns. If he continues at this pace, he would come up just short of those records. Well, we are going to go behind the scenes of Monday Night Football next, and Cindy Bricado is going to help us out with that. Cindy.
Well, that's my job here tonight, to show you what you're not going to see on Monday Night Football. We're going to talk to the newest member of the Monday Night crew, Michelle Tafoya. She's more than ready for prime time. We'll have that coming up, Joe.
All right, we'll have that. Plus, we'll have the best of bumps and bruises coming up.
Chances are you've seen balls like this or game balls, but you probably didn't know it's the handiwork of a man in Forest Lake. I'm Kathy Gerhardt, and I'll have that story coming up.
That's all still ahead on Viking Sports Wrap, live from Indianapolis. If you didn't know any better, you'd think we are in the Metrodome instead of the RCA Dome. Welcome back to Viking Sports Wrap, live in Indianapolis. Well, in The Wizard of Oz, there's a point in the movie where somebody says, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Well, when you're televising a national sporting event, you have to pay attention to the people behind the scenes who put it on. We now go behind the scenes of a TV icon, Monday Night Football.
People who don't know this business will never understand how much teamwork is involved in it. I think everybody on this crew is pretty excited about being on this thing. And the guys who've been here longest, I think appreciate it the most.
Differences from when I started, which was 1976, is the amount of cameras that we have on the shot.
We'll talk to players, to coaches.
They need an elevator all the way to the top.
Talking to Kansas City Chiefs right now.
It's the one game a week, it's the primetime game, it's Monday Night Football, and we really, every week, have to be at the top of our game.
This truck itself is worth almost $12 million. All this equipment here, high definition, very, very state-of-the-art. This is a machine. It's called the EVS, so everybody just calls it the Elvis, and that's who I am.
Everybody ready to make some TV?
On television, you have one chance. Period. That's it.
We always have something happening. This is the ultimate reality show. This is our little ISO sheet. This is what we give all the camera guys, and these are the assignments and what they have to shoot. It's pretty much controlled chaos for about, like I said, 4 hours every Monday night. I didn't get yelled at, so it's a good day. See, dudes can hug. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's another one.
Nothing wrong with that.
See you next Monday.
Well, the ratings on Monday Night Football aren't what they used to be, but it is still one of the top-rated shows each and every week. All 17 weeks they're onto the schedule. Well, now let's head back to Minnesota, where Cindy Bricado has more on Minnesota's connection to Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This is the brass ring, Monday Night Football. And on it tonight, some folks might notice a familiar face and voice on the sidelines. This NFL season, it belongs to Michelle Tafoya, ABC sideline reporter. She's not the first woman to report for Monday Night Football, but her style and her credentials still make her a trailblazer.
Michelle Tafoya is a role model, a title that's often overused, but in her case justified. Toe-to-toe with the big boys in Major League sports.
ABC Sports welcomes you.
She has worked her way to close to the top of sports broadcasting. Stints at KFan Radio, CCO TV, and CBS led her to the brass ring, sideline reporter for Monday Night Football.
I mean, two of the NFL's most intriguing personalities collide.
We had a chance to talk about the risks and rewards of taking on sports broadcasting, one of the last bastions of male dominance.
My very first job was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I think when I first got there, people were reluctant to just say, let's accept her. I had to sort of earn my respect there, and that's fine. That happens, but I'll guarantee you it doesn't happen to men nearly as often as it happens to women. But once you do cut your teeth and you are accepted, I feel like you're in, you're locked in, as long as you continue to do your job well.
You know, Dante Culpepper was telling me that if he's a better quarterback...
Michelle Tafoya has credentials that are unusual for women in sports broadcasting. She's not a former pro athlete or a cheerleader. She has a degree in broadcast journalism and an MBA. She was tapped for her brains as much as her beauty.
I've always been a little self-conscious about that. And based on some of the people who have had jobs in sports that have been hired for their looks, you know, you realize that that's what some people are going for, and that's what some people are looking for.
Michelle lives in the Twin Cities. It's a cozy home, complete with husband and cats, and the evidence of a life always on the go.
Have you made sacrifices, though?
Certainly. Certainly. I've missed weddings, important family functions. You know, I miss the holidays. I'm a real holiday person. I love to spend those with the families. I've missed a lot of stuff. So there's no question there have been sacrifices. But I think the benefits outweigh the sacrifices.
Michelle Tafoya has some extra info for us. Michelle?
Thanks, Fitz.
By one measure, Michelle Tafoya has achieved the ultimate, a featured role in a PlayStation game.
We're hoping to let our offense loose.
ESPN's 2K5. But she's aiming even higher.
Bob, let's send it back to you.
Now, you might ask, what could be better than getting in a PlayStation game? Well, how about getting into the broadcast booth? Well, Tafoya says breaking the barrier for Monday Night Football is probably a ways off, but she does have her sights, Joe, set on the NBA, booth for the NBA. I say, go for it.
All right, great story. Thank you, Cindy. Well, tonight will be the 43rd time that the Minnesota Vikings are under the bright lights of Monday Night Football, and they need to win this game tonight in order to stay above 500. The Vikings are 21-21 in franchise history on Monday night, and it's been tough away from home. They're 8-15 on the road on Mondays, and they have lost their last 2 times on Monday Night Football. Well, whoever has the best game tonight will end up on the Monday Night Football horse trailer. They put their picture up there. John Madden chooses that player. But another player will get an honor, too. They'll be awarded the game ball. Kathy Gerhardt has the inside story on the art of the game ball.
It is a ritual that happens behind the scenes in every NFL locker room.
Game ball, Randy Moss.
The game ball is an acknowledgement of going above and beyond in a game full of superstars.
I got to give this game ball to Brian Russell.
The journey of a game ball doesn't stop there, though. This is the assembly line of a truly unique profession, where a plain leather football is transformed into a piece of history, and it takes place in the small basement workshop of Bill Grunn.
Oh, that's all freehand.
I had a gentleman ask me the other day, he said, where do you get those decals? I said, those aren't decals. I painted them on there.
With painstaking detail, Bill has been working on game balls since a surprising phone call from former Vikings equipment manager Stubby Eason in the early 1960s.
He called me up and he said, can you paint on a football? I said, what? You know, what do I know? So I gave it a try.
That was 40 years ago.
Okay, we're ready to paint.
And not much has changed since then. Once Bill realized painting directly on the ball didn't work well, he changed to a white back-painted surface. From there, he turned into a one-man Football Hall of Fame. He's painted balls for Hall of Famers, NFL record holders, and even presidents.
When I wake up in the morning, I might come down here at 4 o'clock. That's the best time with no telephone calls. You know, turn on the television and listen to the weather or whatever and paint.
During football season, this is a 7-day-a-week job for the septuagenarian. Besides the weekly game balls for teams like the Jets, Chargers, and the Vikings, he's working on 75 game balls for the entire Broncos team for their win over the Raiders in Week 6. What takes the longest is letting them dry between painting stages.
So there's quite a bit of time spent waiting for these things, and that's why you like to have a few to do at a time so you can space your work out.
Spacing of the logos and lettering is an art form unto itself and critical for the final product.
Get your center and straight with the world, and then it's a matter of just taking the brush and writing the rest of it.
Bill is so good with the lettering and spacing, he can fit the entire roster on the football, just like this one from 1966. His daughter estimates that he's painted nearly 30,000 footballs, and all with little fanfare.
I got enough. I mean, as far as honors, I feel good when I get something done, do a good job, and I know the kids love them. Everybody gets one. They think they're great.
And little did they know, with a steady hand in a small workshop, a moment in time is captured forever. In Forest Lake for Viking Sports Wrap, I'm Kathy Gerhardt.
That's the game ball story. Now let's talk about game day. Vikings Game Day is a show we do right here on Channel 5 each and every Sunday morning at 10:30 during the season. And one of the highlights of the show each week is when we let Kelly Campbell loose in the Vikings locker room with a microphone. We call the segment Bumps and Bruises. And here are the highlights of the first half of the season.
Hey, this is Kelly Campbell. We're back with Bumps and Bruises. Face off. Somebody said you'll be a good head coach because you'll let them boys do what you want to do what they want to do.
No, Paul Tagliabue would not want Randy Moss and his team to come out there because I tell you now, I'm cussing everybody out pregame.
Pregame?
All the referees going to get cussed out. The opposing team's head coach going to get cussed out. The opposing team's owner going to get cussed out. Might be a fight. Culpepper said something today. My team might turn into the 1991 Miami Hurricanes when they ain't give a damn about nobody. That's it. That's it.
I mean, what about radio? I mean, I was with you when you watched radio.
Radio's a pretty good
And when radio came walking by like this. What's up, coach? What's up, coach? I see you just start crying, man. Why were you crying about radio, man?
I wasn't crying about radio, man.
So you didn't cry on the Lion King?
Hell yeah, I cried on the Lion King. You see, when Simba had to be the man, lost his pops, that hurt, man.
That hurt?
Shit, man.
But I throw the peaches in the bin, and the guy throws me 40 cents. 40 cents for a peach? For a whole bucket? 40 cents for a bucket? A bucket?
I don't do like the picking grapes in the grapevine and snarling them out with your feet making wine? What kind of grown man makes wine? Marcus Robinson. I don't do that.
You don't do that?
I'm driving forklifts, man. I'm working, man. Man, I said I was moving crates, man. I'm moving crates, man.
Well, look, you see the argument.
Man, what kind of grown man gonna stomp grapes with his feet, bare feet?
Hey, people have no control over my own show.
Dave Dixon is the nicest, probably the nicest big dude. Dave Dixon is the biggest, nicest, gentlest dude we got on this team.
This year I'm gonna go as Michael Bennett's breath, a hot mess. Michael bit his breath. A hot mess. That's a good one. That is a good one. People, he might have won a costume contest for that. Michael bit his breath. Oh, man. And that thing is, woo. Hey, it is what it is. Yeah.
Every team has one, a character, and Kelly Campbell is the Minnesota Vikings. Well, there has been some masterpiece theater on Monday night in the past. We will have that next. Plus,
one very important Viking is not with the team in Indianapolis. In fact, he's been out all season with an injury. I'm Rod Simons. We're going to have an update on Jim Kleinsasser when Viking Sports Wrap continues.
and I'll go one-on-one with Mike Tice when Viking Sports Wrap continues live from Indianapolis. This place will be a rockin' tonight as Indianapolis is happy to have Monday Night Football. The Vikings are going to try to spoil it here for the hometown crowd. Well, playing without Randy Moss is tough enough, but playing without Randy Moss on Monday Night Football is a near disaster because Randy Moss has made Monday night Randy's night. On October 9th, 2000, Randy was locked in against Tampa Bay. He grabbed 5 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown. The Vikings improved to 5-0 on the season and on their way to a 7-0 start. We saw it in week 1 this season. Randy loves lighting up the Cowboys, and that's what he did on November 8th, 1999. He hauled in 6 passes for close to 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that's not even his best game against Dallas. A month after that Dallas game, Moss had Green Bay packing it in. 5 catches for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns helped put the Vikings back on track for the playoffs. With the embarrassing NFC Championship game still in their minds, Moss single-handedly gave the Vikings a little revenge. On November 19th, 2001, he torched the Giants with 10 receptions for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. But on top of the list of Moss magic on Monday nights, his coming out party on October 5th, 1998 at Lambeau Field. 5 catches, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which helped proclaim that he and the Vikings were for real. Well, it's a long, long season when you are hurt in the NFL, and Jimmy Kleinsasser is fighting that out right now. Rod Simons has the story.
In this season of Super Bowl possibilities and all that offense, these Vikings have taken a beating. Banged up ankles here, bum feet there. Ice and bandages rule. And that's the bug that's kept one important Viking starter out since game 1.
You feel like you're just a stump on a log right now. That's hard, you know, seeing the excitement of the guys down the field, you know, working hard in practice, and, you know, you're not, you know, doing the same things they're doing.
Jim Kleinsasser continues to mend after season-ending knee surgery on September 27th. He played only 1 game this season against Dallas, catching 2 passes. Kleinsasser was supposed to be part of big plans laid for Team Tice.
I've been around to see the whole thing, you know, and now it's coming to fruition. You know, every move he's made, everything he's done and said to us is kind of leading up to this point now.
Kleinsasser remembers how he hurt his knee. Second quarter, a simple pass route, and
was diving as I caught the ball, and Datwin from Dallas just, you know, landed on the side, and it was really not a, you know, a big hit or anything. Just came over and rolled it, and I thought it was just like a hyperextension. And, you know, it was just a shock when we got the MRI back and said it was ruptured.
And in the NFL, there's always a substitute ready, so it's been tough on number 40 to just sit and heal.
Mentally, your whole mindset changes. It's kind of like, you know, part of your life's kind of taken away.
Kleinsasser mends with help from teammates like fellow sick bay buddy Mike Rosenthal, injured against the Eagles.
We're, I think, like 2 little brothers, counting at each other sometimes, but I think it gets us through it, you know. Both of us being there, you know, we've, you know, played in the Senior Bowl in college together and known each other for a while now, so it's, I guess it's a little easier, you know, having somebody to kind of talk to. You know, seeing, you know, how much you miss it, and realizing how much it really means to you once it's taken away from you, I think it puts different perspective on things, and you know, definitely not going to take anything for granted from this day on.
So with Kleinsasser's season over, his goals are simple: rehab and be ready for next season. I'm Rod Simons for Viking Sports Wrap.
And also on that injured reserve list are Mike Rosenthal and cornerback Kenny Irvin. Well, time now to hear from the boss. Mike Tice is now in his third year as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And when you're that long as a head coach in the league, you start to hear from the critics. That's where we started our conversation this week as the Vikings got ready for the Colts game.
I've always said I don't think anybody expects more of me than me and my daughter Adrienne. She's the toughest critic. And I think it's the people's right to have an opinion. And I think also some of the talk radio kind of, gives the people a chance to vent. I call it bitch radio because that's really what it is. It's a chance for people to bitch and moan about things and have their opinion. But it doesn't really faze me a lot. I know that the media here in this town is very, very fair to Mike Tice, and I actually like the media in this town.
And have you handled it differently? The shots?
No, I try to have fun with it as much as I can to realize that people are, media trying to do their job and trying to, do an excellent job just like I'm trying to do it. As long as things don't turn to a personal, note and get personal, I don't take any offense to the criticisms at all.
Has your relationship changed at all with the players in 3 years? I mean, do you get closer or do you maybe get further apart?
Well, the guys I'm close to are the guys that have been here a long time. The young guys I'm not as close to. And we have 3 drafts, and I'm probably not very close to anyone in the 3 drafts. But the Mo Williams, the Matt Burks, the Chris Lewinsky's, the Dante Culpeppers, the Randy Mosses, the Lance Johnstone, those older players I am close to. The young players I'm not very close to.
This could be a breakthrough game tonight for this football team. I mean, you win this game on national TV against a very good football team. You might look back at this game later in the season and say that's where we got on the right track.
This is a huge game for us, and with the schedule we have coming up, this is a huge game for us. I put this thing in 2 5-game stretches, and this is the second game in that 5-game stretch, and we're 0-1. So this is a huge game for that reason. Also, it's a huge game. Is our defense going to take the next step?
Now you're going to have all 4 of your running backs, your top 4 running backs healthy. If you could take one characteristic out of each running back to have a perfect running back, what would you take out of each?
Well, out of Ontario, I would take the great vision, the great acceleration, and the passion to be great. Out of Morelli Moore, I'd take the smoothness and the way he breaks tackles and the great hands in the passing game. Out of Michael Bennett, obviously, I would take the personality, the charisma, and the speed. Out of Mo Williams, I would take the consistency and the ability to come up with a big play at the right time.
And a little note going into this game tonight, Ontario Smith will probably get the bulk of the carries tonight. But look for the Vikings to put Bennett and Smith in the backfield at the same time, with Bennett possibly moving out to wide receiver because the Vikings obviously will be missing Randy Moss in this game. That is going to wrap it up for the show this week. I'm now going to turn it over to my good buddy John Madden, Al Michaels, and Michelle DePoya. That's a wrap from Indianapolis.